Oh my goodness, what a bloody day out there for AMC stock. AMC stock at the time of recording this video is down 10.59%. You hit a low today of $7.10 per share. You're currently at $7.26 per share. So you have bounced from the low a decent amount. Now, I think we need to go over what's happening with AMC, what my expectations are, and I actually want to break down a little bit of fundamental numbers with you guys, which is something that we haven't done in quite a long time. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and source your comments, questions, or concerns down below in the comment section. If you like AMC, if you don't like AMC, or you just want to stay up to date with everything going on with AMC every single day. It's hard to love it, it's hard to hate it. You're at that kind of crossroads in your life with this trade. Now, this trade, okay, there's something you need to know. When you see sell-offs like this is worse than even companies that announce bankruptcy. This is a egregious sell-off from where we were back in the beginning of August, around $50 per share. You are down 85% since then. You have to ask yourself, what has happened here? We obviously know there was some dilution from the conversion of APE and AMC. We know that AMC has said they're going to raise about 40 million shares worth of AMC. We know these things. They're priced in. At this point, if you're betting on AMC stock that if you think it's going to continue to fall, two things kind of have to happen, or really three things. Either AMC's business fundamentally just slows down and things get worse, and I don't really think there's good things expected for AMC based on the share price. So that's number one. Number two, we get more dilution. AMC announces an additional million, 10 million, 20 million, 50 million shares that they're going to sell. That doesn't look likely since they're really not getting any good return for selling stock at these levels. Compared to where the stock could be in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, there makes no logical sense to sell stock at $7 when hopefully the stock can retake 20, 30, 40, 50 at some point, and you could sell stock at those prices. The third thing is if AMC just outright goes bankrupt. And it almost looks like that's how investors are feeling about AMC, which makes no sense in the grand scope of things. AMC has probably close to $1 billion of capital at hand, including revolving lines of credit. AMC turned a profit last quarter of almost $9 million. Bankruptcy looks off the table. Raising more shares looks off the table for right now. Now, the business itself slowing down, sure, that's a possibility, but that looks like it's already priced into AMC stock, given this 85% drop. It looks like the dilution has been priced into AMC stock as well. So I still sit firm on when AMC does say, hey, we've raised the 40 million shares, we're done. That is probably a very bullish event for AMC stock. Just getting any clarity from the management would be bullish at this point. They have not spoken a peep about AMC since this happened. Not a word. Not a single word. It's a shame that they can't even make a statement at this point. I believe it's because they did not expect the stock would be nuked the way that it was. But it was. So come on, AMC. Make a statement. Say something about what has happened recently. Share this video on Twitter with Adam Aaron, or clip this part out and share it with him so he can hear the plea, I guess, if you will, that a lot of retail investors have, just to hear a simple statement from management of AMC. Besides that, where do we sit right now? The stock has fallen way too much, way too quickly, and odds are you do get quite a rebound. I talked about this in the last video, but I'm going to talk about it again. The average analyst price target is over $21 per share. That is a return potential of 167%. What do you think a bounce is going to look like? when you're under the average analyst price targets. These are fundamental-based price targets. These are not hopium-based price targets. These are very much fundamental-based price targets. If they think the fundamental value of AMC shares is $21.68 per share or anywhere even close to that, plus or minus, well, you're at $7 per share today. That could mean a huge bounce on a percentage basis. Even more recently, on September 5th, Eric Wold with B. Riley Securities reiterated his $45 price target on AMC stock. Either he is just too bullish or he knows, this sell-off is overblown. And I would imagine it's probably he thinks the sell-off is far overblown. $45 per share. Boy, if we got to those prices, you guys would be feeling rich again. At least to some degree or another. Now, another big problem we have with AMC stock right now that is not helping anything is we don't have the official short interest report now. Throughout this entire sell-off, we have not gotten an official short interest report. That is because the sell-off happened so quickly that we just were not able to get another official reported short interest. So last we knew, the short interest was 29.25%. That was when the stock was $30+ per share, around $33 per share on August 15th. This means that, hey, the short interest is probably much, much higher than that here today. So that is one of those things where we don't know. But we know it's a lot higher than 29.25%. Unless there's a lot of manipulation, a lot of hiding of short positions out there, which is possible. I think the short interest could come in over 100%. That's certainly a possibility. We'll have to wait and see. It looks like the next official short interest report is going to come out on either September 9th, which could be tomorrow, or it's going to come out on September 12th. I believe if the 9th falls on a weekend, it ends up coming out on the 12th because you see these release dates sometimes are on the 12th or sometimes on the 9th. But either way, next week, we're going to know where the short interest is. And I think once that short interest number comes out 40-50+%, you're going to put a lot of shorts on notice and you're going to put a lot of retail investors on notice. And a lot of people are going to start to say, hey, we are way too short in this stock that has a history of going through massive short squeezes. And I think when you couple that with the stock being lower than January of 2021, the stock is lower than January of 2021. Can I say that again? Does anyone else need to hear that? The stock is lower than January of 2021. You're down here, guys. I mean, come on. Let's be honest with ourselves here. I think that quote in and of itself, the stock is lower now than it was in January of 2021, really speaks volumes on whether this is a good time to buy or not. Obviously, it's a good time to buy. Let's not be stupid here. You don't get discounts like this all too often anywhere in the markets with a company that is improving. Yeah, sure, AMC's management has no idea what they're doing, but that comes and goes. Once the dilution's done, markets are going to look past that very quickly. Markets are good at handling bad news, and they're even better at getting over bad news. So yeah, once this settles out, things are going to be okay. And the stock is going to go through a face ripper rally. And don't say I didn't tell you so, because it's going to happen. Now look at the MACD. So the MACD is extremely negative, extremely in very much in bearish territory, sitting at negative 7.15. And you're starting to get a bottoming out effect. You're starting to get the MACD that is bottoming out, flattening out, and starting to actually look like it's curling to the upside. This is great. This is great news. The RSI is at 23.51 as well. Looks like it's starting to bottom out. The lowest you hit on the RSI was actually right here at about 21. So definitely not seeing it not as bad as it was before. So we are starting to see some encouraging signs as far as the technicals are concerned. Now, something I do want to point out for you guys is this chart. So this is going over September returns in the S&P 500 every day. So mapping out the whole month of September from 1950 through 2021. So next week is September 13th. You're going to get CPI. CPI comes out on September 13th. That is next Wednesday. Historically, you do tend to get a rally next week. And if you look at the expectations for CPI, you're expecting a 0.5% for the CPI report on your headline month-over-month number. That is 6% annualized. That is extremely high. I doubt we come in that high. So today, you're seeing a little bit of fear in the markets. Monday, you might see some fear. Tuesday, you might see some fear. But Wednesday, I do think the fear is, by that point, going to be overblown. And that's when you can actually get a pretty good bounce for next week. If CPI just comes in at 0.3 or 0.4, that's going to probably be seen as really good news. But what historically happens is you get a rally into quad witching. Quad witching is when options expire, option future or stock index options expire, index futures expire, and option futures expire. So 4 different derivative classes that expire. And then you tend to see a sell-off, a steep sell-off towards the end of the month in September over the past 71 years. This is the average for September. So it tends to get pretty bad towards the end of the month. That is something to watch out for. I actually believe if you are in the camp of the markets are going to crash or whatnot, the biggest concern right now is the GDP report. Q3 GDP is going to come out on October 26th. So almost 2 months away from now. But the markets are expecting 5.6% for your GDP report. Or this is the Atlanta Fed GDP. Your top 10 and bottom 10 average forecast from analysts, your top 10 high forecasts are 3.5%. Your bottom 10 forecasts are 1%. Just in July, you were expecting on the low end, negative 1.5%. On the high end, 1%. So you have completely re-rated estimates for GDP. If GDP does come in at maybe 0.5%, or even negative, that could be a black swan event that could crash the markets. But I do expect in the short term to get some form of bounce in the markets. That does look pretty likely to me. That could be a big positive for AMC as well. Now, let's just talk about one thing in particular on the fundamental valuation side. AMC's market cap is around $1.2 billion. AMC does about $1.2 billion in revenue every quarter. That means AMC's price to sales ratio is about 0.25, about 1/4. Your price to sales ratio for the media industry is 2 to 6. That's your average for the media industry, the segment that AMC is in. So AMC is considerably undervalued relative to its other kind of relative stocks in its category of AMC's business, like media. So that is interesting. So I think that is something to also keep in mind, and why some of the analysts are, keeping a $20+ price target on AMC stock. Now, let's go over some of the raw data here. Then we'll wrap this up, let you guys enjoy your weekend. So you have a short score of 66, $145.14 million worth of short positions currently in AMC. Estimated short interest of free float at 11.33%. Free float out on loan at 16.26%. Shares out on loan 25.65 million. Days to cover 2.77. Cost to borrow at about 8%. And utilization at 77.29%. So as far as the option activity, what you're seeing for this week, it's basically done, okay? You have a lot of calls expiring out the money. You have a lot of puts expiring in the money. Now, next week, things become a lot more active. So you have 45,000 calls currently in the money, 132,000 calls out the money, 141,000 puts in the money, and 448,000 puts that are out the money. This is the quad witching week next week for September 15th. So I do expect a lot of volatility, and I think the option activity could be very volatile as well and could create some big swings for AMC. And I do expect a bounce. next week. So keep that in mind. That is my prediction, if you will. Now, as far as the FTD numbers, we're going to have a lot of those next week as well. Starting off the week, you're going to have about 4 million. Then you ramp down to about 3 million, back down to about 3 million, and then you end the week at 4 million. That is on the quad witching day of September 15th. And then even the following week, you start off at 4.5 million. So there's millions and millions and millions of shares that need to be closed out of over the course of the next 10 days or so. And I think that could also help give AMC this bounce that is long overdue. Let's be honest here, guys. So that is going to do it for this video. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and source your comments, questions, or concerns down below in the comment section. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.